Hey, thanks, Josh. Thanks. Okay, cool. I'm really glad to be here, so thanks, Josh, very much. So I moved to Denver about 2 years ago, and if you can't tell, if you didn't see me ride in on the scooter, and if my hair doesn't have helmet hair, I love life. Like, I really do. And I'm 46 years old. I have 3 kids. There's my son, Jack. My oldest is on a college visit to study evolutionary biology. I don't know, got that from her mom, I think. And I love life. And I've been around technology my whole life. And I graduated high school in 1986. And does anybody know the computer game Zork? Yeah, it's so old school, right? There's a documentary out there called Get Lamp. And if you want a fantastic understanding of where it began, that is a fantastic documentary. So when I was in high school, I coded a text-based adventure called Sarkad. It was the 7th story to the Star Wars series. And I used to charge people to play it. So that was like this coding thing, and I made some money. And my other job was a dishwasher, so I was like, which one do I want to do, you know? And then I got sucked into corporate America. We're on the me slide here. I got sucked into corporate America, and then I started buying things with money. And then I was about 34, and Bro was born there. And I was like, you know, what do I really want to do? His sisters call him Bro. Sorry. Jack was born. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. Like, I'm done buying things. I've actually been on this weird project that I haven't bought a single thing in the last 7 months. Like, I don't mean like food, but anytime I spend my money, I use it for experience. So most of the stuff I have is old, such as the scooter and the shirt. So, so I enjoy life. I broke away from corporate America, and I decided to do startups. And that's really what I want to cover today. The one thing that I want to cover first of all is that, oh my gosh, you've probably read enough articles, you've seen enough videos, you've heard enough people talking. There is so much cliche and generic advice that I won't pretend that I know. I don't. What I do know is the pain and the success that I've had, and all I'm trying to do is to share that. My intent is that if I could go back in time travel to 1986 and put my hands around my own throat, because I was a teenager, right, because I wouldn't listen, and tell myself things, these are the things that I would tell myself. So that's really it. Usually I bring a bell or something, and I hold somebody accountable for ringing it when I drop a cliche, but I forgot my bell. So if I drop a cliche, just know that it's not my intent. All right, cool. Sometimes we play entrepreneurial bingo, and you pass it out, and then every time I say something and somewhere somebody goes, bingo, you know, anyway. I don't do it on purpose, but they just come out, right? So George Costanza. So I made a couple comments on the meetup, and it probably deflected some people from coming. Hopefully it...
That's why I came.
That's why you came, because of George? Nice. So I was working at Dean Witter in Chicago, and I remember that I had recently purchased some ties that had a certain name brand, which means I was just this corporate schmuck, right? And a friend of mine and I were in our cubicles, and the night before Seinfeld, it was live, must-see TV, the night before this episode was on. And if you haven't seen it, this episode is one where George can never come up with a comeback, but then on the way home, he's like, oh, and then he realizes what he should have said, right? So my friend Brent and I said, we need to solve that problem, because it's not just George Costanza that has that problem. So we devised this whole business plan. It was called oneup.com, and it was all about this. You could post your problem online. This was 1996, I think. You could post your problem online, and then other people could contribute and say what you should say the next time. There was this whole greeting card thing that we had. I mean, it was this unbelievable plan. And the reason that we didn't do it, first lesson, is because oneup.com was taken. Like, what the, right? We know now, it's absolute common sense. We're like, you know, the URL is important, but whatever, right? Like, why didn't we do like the word oneup.com? What? So we had this giant elaborate greeting card plan based on the jerk store called, and they're all out of you, right? That's the quote. So that was the very first one, and amazing when you have an idea, it's amazing what can sometimes stop you, even to the simplest things. hell yeah, right? So the other thing that I learned is only do the stuff that you care about. Ding, right? Cliche, right? But seriously, like, you have an emotion inside of you, and whether someone's presenting an idea to you or you're coming up with the idea, unless it's hell yeah, then it should be a no. Josh alluded to it like it was a positive thing. I'm in all these things, and I don't know, my hell yeah, no switch is sometimes broken, right? So I will encourage you, like, if I could go back in time and choke myself, I would be like, look, dude, it's either hell yeah, like you cannot stop thinking about it, or it's a no. That simple. Right, cool. Hell yeah. That's not my quote, by the way. There's a book out there by a guy named Derek Silvers. He did CD Baby, and I read the whole book, listened to it on audio tape, and that's the one thing I remember. It's either hell yeah or, yeah, pass. All right. Man, ding, cliche. So back in, I don't know, I'm losing track, 2002, Paul Graham came out. I think there was actually another guy. They quoted Web 2.0. And are there any marketing folks in the room? Ah. All right, that's cool. So the marketing folks grabbed a hold of that and said, Web 2.0. But what got lost is the meaning of what it really, really, really is, okay? So Web 2.0 is very real if you're an entrepreneur. Like, ignore some of the buzz that comes with it, and this is what it really is. And if I, again, go back and choke myself, this is what it really is your individual users are taking selfish actions that contribute to the value of the community and your company. Right? Yelp is a perfect example of that. Oh, I love that restaurant. I mean, they're not doing that for some stranger who's going to read it a month from now. That's not really why they're doing it. I mean, you got a couple ego folks that are like, yeah, I'm posting on Yelp all day long, you know. But they're really saying, I love that restaurant, or I hated that restaurant, and they're taking a selfish action, which is then benefiting the community and building the value of the company. So Web 2.0 is like, it's one of those ding, you know, one of those little words, but if you get the real meaning of your idea, so how do I get my users to contribute for selfish reasons, benefit the community, and build the value of my company? It is one of the things, so I'm on the acquisition side too, right? It is one of the things that drives value that doesn't allow Google to replicate you tomorrow, is if you can build that value for your community, more people come, and the value of your company goes up, it makes your company valuable, even pre-revenue. So, all right. It's my favorite one. So this is the other thing that I posted on Meetup, and I struggled. If it wasn't Colorado, I probably wouldn't put it up there because it talks about pot, right? So did anybody get a chance to read this one? Even one person? Okay, good. So, Uncle Steve. All right, so Uncle Steve is my stepdad's sister's husband, and I say that because there is no blood even near us, all right? Like, I'm serious. So Uncle Steve, his business model had nothing to do with technology. He lived in Florida, and he would scope out, like literally, he'd have a plan. He'd scope out all the rich people's neighborhoods, and he would know when their trash pickup was, and he would go the night before, he would raid their trash, throw it in his pickup truck. He did this for years. He would take it home, and on Saturday, he'd have a yard sale. He'd make $2,000 a week. And then on Sunday, he would smoke pot and get drunk. That's what he would do. For years, he would do this. So I thought, that's a problem, right? Meaning people are throwing stuff out. There's no easy way to sell. eBay was pretty hot at the time. Craigslist was somewhat new. So I reserved the domain, which was available, and feel free to laugh, called curbdiver.com. It was available, so we decided to go with it. And the model was this. It worked really well, and then it failed. And let me share with you why. So what worked really well, the model was this, is we would scrape eBay. That's when you could do it, you know, without being, you know, called on. Right? We would scrape eBay and do massive big data, ding, analysis. And we would know what sold at what price. Then we would take that list and give it to an insurance agent-like person in the field. They would then either personally go through the yard sales and make a profit from it, or they would start to have customers call on them that are liquidating their business, they're moving, things like that. And they would go out there with their data knowing yes, yes, no, no, yes. They would know. Then they would bring it back. They'd enter an online form, right? This is pre-mobile anything. They would submit it to our operation. Our operation would put it on local Craigslist, eBay, I can't even remember all the ones. There were all these different shopping mechanisms at the time. We would handle all the operation, and then we'd give the person a cut. It worked out great. It was great. Well, here's why it failed, is people think their stuff is way more valuable than it is, you know? So we knew that this particular item was worth $45, so we would make an offer of $30, and they're like, hey, I bought that for $90, and they wouldn't sell it. They wouldn't authorize the sale of their item. So then what happened is the sales agent, the insurance agent in the field covering their territory, they couldn't make any money, and then we're done. Failed. Done. Okay. So curb diver. And my mom used to call Uncle Steve that behind the scenes, and that's how I came up with that. So, all right, RSS. A guy named Dave Weiner, Ding, right, dropping buzzwords here, developed RSS 2.0, made it real. I don't remember the year. And RSS, if you don't know the technology, I'm not covering that today, but it is the absolute backbone of distribution. And RSS often gets it's an RSS feed, I click on it, RSS reader, like it gets that, and it got that nasty reputation, and still has it a little bit. And I discovered RSS when I went to the designer of Curb Diver, and I literally said, hey, what's RSS? Like, I asked him point blank, and his name's Alan, and he explained it to me, and then light bulbs just started going off about distribution of content instead of traffic. You know, instead of SEO and AdWords and email marketing, not that traffic is bad, but RSS allows you to distribute to anywhere, anytime, anywhere. There's an RSS feed that goes to the International Space Station. Nobody knows it's RSS, but it is, you know. So RSS taught me, and if I could go back, I'd be like, dude, distribution. Don't worry about traffic. Don't worry about traffic. Don't worry about PR. Don't worry about that. Worry about distribution. So RSS taught me about that distribution is the most important thing. Get that right, and it's actually pretty straightforward. Now you have to love it. You got to keep up the momentum, but that's what RSS taught me. All right, Mark Cuban. So I was pitching a deal, 2005. It was one of my startups, still alive, called Bounce. It's got thousands of users today. It makes like $12 a month. I'm not going to talk about that one that much, you know, but it's got opportunity. So when we were pitching Bounce around the country, I emailed Mark Cuban, and he emailed me back. Yeah, kind of cool. And then I blew it. I blew it. I blew it. And I did the same thing twice. I got an audience with First Round, so Josh Koppelman and Chris Freilich down in Conshohocken, and I blew it. I blew it. And I didn't realize I was going to blow it, right? And the one thing that it taught me, which is a little bit obvious now, but it wasn't so obvious then to the entrepreneur community, is you have to be prepared. Like way beyond the cliche, like way beyond that. And you have to hit a home run, and whether they buy into it or not, who cares? But going in unprepared is absolutely unacceptable. And I've pitched, lost count, hundreds of times. I've been pitched hundreds of times, and it's the one piece of feedback that I always give all the time is you came unprepared. Like, you can search Google, all of us. If I stopped right now and we spent the next 15 minutes searching Google for the best practices, we would all leave here near experts. So why can't someone come in, shame on me, right, for being unprepared? I blew those opportunities, embarrassed. Now, the other part of Mark Cuban, and I'm going to jump up on the soapbox a little bit, is the whole Shark Tank thing. I can't stand it because it gives the environment, it gives entrepreneurs the environment that it's caustic, that it's this battle, and it's not a battle. You know, I've been on the investor side, and it's not like that, and it's sad because entrepreneurs come and they have this shield up, and if you're an entrepreneur and you're pitching to investors that treat you like that, you need to walk away. That they don't deserve to be investors. So on the other side of that, I realize it's reality TV. I get it, you know, but I was like, damn, dude, you should have did that, you know, like he knows who I am. He doesn't know who I am, you know. All right, death. It's always a good one, right? Death. What the hell is Dave going to say after the word death? All right, so my wife and I were filling out my will, And we were, I mean, this is 2000, I don't know, 6, 7, somewhere like that. And Bounce was getting momentum, right? And I was attempting to be a stand-up comic at the time too, right? And it went okay. But on my way to stand-up comedy, my buddy Alan and I, my designer, my co-founder on many things, is we would meet at Starbucks. I'd get all jacked up on coffee and then see what happens, right? So Alan and I were sitting at Starbucks after my wife and I filling out this will. And my wife and I had the conversation is, if something would happen just to me, what would I want to happen to Bounce? And I said, I'd like for you to give it to Alan, you know? And so, you know, not 10 minutes later, I'm sitting coffee with Alan, and I told Alan that. And then I said to him, Alan, if you got Bounce and I was out of the way, what would you do? And I was thinking, like, he was going to extend the legacy and like these things. And then he goes, well, I'd probably rewrite it and make it an API instead of a bunch of web pages. And I was like, dude, that's brilliant. So we plowed some more money into it, and that's what we did. And now, instead of having these web pages that function on their own, we have this API, and the web pages talk to this API. It is absolutely brilliant, and it makes $12 a month. It's okay. But my point is, oh my gosh, ask and listen. Like, I couldn't, like, just the fact that I trusted Alan, the lesson that I learned that's so obvious now is ask and then listen. And man, I do that. I'm not doing it right now, but I do that more often now because of that specific episode. It completely changed the way that Bounce was. Not just technically, but it would have been dead a long time ago. But death. Jack, are you having fun, buddy? All right, good. Oh, yeah. So I'm on video and my son is here, so I'll let you interpret this, right? All right, so there's this guy when I was an early entrepreneur, and his name was John. I won't say his last name because we're putting this online, right? So, oh my gosh, he helped me and he charged me for it. I'm telling you, if you have someone as an entrepreneur that is charging to help you, I mean help you, just like with words. Like, I'm not talking about help you where they're delivering something. I'm talking about they sit down with you and they're helping you. If they're charging you for it, they are not, it's not right. It is not right. Now, is there value in consulting a company to help them get there fast? Yes. Is there value as an individual entrepreneur looking and asking for help and being charged for it? No. So the lesson that I learned from this guy is, one, never ever do that to someone, right? Because it's obvious. It's obvious now, but it wasn't obvious to me then. So I think about this guy all the time, and you know, so be it. He's laid his, he's still around, not here. He's laid his own way, and you know the consequences that he pays for it because he doesn't have a network. But my point is that as an entrepreneur, if I could go back and tell myself, that's what I would say. If someone's charging you for that, or if an investor is treating you poorly, be done. Be intolerant of that. It's okay. There's plenty of people that are not like that. All right, Josh. So Josh's name is up here because it's positive. So Josh Coates, if you don't know the name, he was the creator of Mosey, and took $2 million of convertible debt from some Utah angels, and he sold out to EMC for $76 million. So you know, Josh pocketed post-tax $40 million, something like that. And I knew Josh before, you know, he had this old Nissan Maxima with a missing hubcap. And after the deal was announced, I called him up. He didn't answer. I left a message saying, dude, are you going to get the hubcap? And I hung up my phone, you know, because he was focused, right? So what made Josh so special for me is not the exit side. Because when I met him, I didn't know anything about that, you know. But he cared about me, and he kicked my butt, and he wanted no benefit. So the opposite of John was Josh. And that is, somehow he saw something in me that didn't exist at the time, but somehow he saw that, and he's kicking my butt all over the place. Now, the irony part is I shared an idea with him that was mine, and it turned into a big-time viral hit from him. It was an accident. It was just an idea. He executed it. So since then, you know, we've had a relationship to the point of I thanked him, and he's like, yeah, dude, whatever, right? I did ask him the first thing that he was going to buy with the money, because Josh is a low-key guy. He doesn't need anything. Not because he has everything, because he doesn't want anything. And he bought a tank. He did. He's this hardcore World War II, like, freak kind of guy. And he went out and he bought a World War II tank that he drives in parades. So no joke, we won't do it now, but if you search YouTube for Josh Coates with the S on the end and tank, you'll see him driving it down a parade. It is awesome. It is awesome. The second thing he said is, well, I don't have to worry about money anymore. The third thing he said is, you know what, I now don't ever know who my friends are. That's the third thing he said. So tank. Okay, so this is the biggest cliche in the world, and I still tell myself, because I got some startups rolling now too, right? And I tell myself this every day, and then I forget it every day. And that is, solve a real problem, and not a problem that you created. You know, like I'm standing here humble because I sit here and I talk about this, but I don't have this one. I still create these things, and I'm like, and I've learned enough code that I go waste my time, or I ask my friends to help, and I don't do this one well. So maybe I choke myself now, right? So it is one of the things that if you look at every single, I'm careful to use the word successful, happy entrepreneur, this is what they did first. Like they really said, what's the problem? And then they systemically solved that little tiny problem. So I hope you don't fight this one as much as I do, but I think as my startup roller coaster has gone like this, it's because I haven't nailed this one yet. The successes that I've had, I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, we were solving a real problem. And then the money burning that I've done, I haven't solved this one. So, yep. If you are the customer of your product, you are not a customer because you love that thing, right? Hell yeah, I love this thing. So you have to get real customers, and ding, that couldn't be more cliche. But the one thing that real customers give you is they tell you everything you don't want to hear. Well, this needs to be wider. I don't like the color blue, or it broke, or what do you mean you're using IE6, or what? You go through this mess of a problem that you solved. You spent money and time, which is more valuable than that. But until you have real customers and you've solved those problems, you don't really have anything. And it sucks to hear that. I'm saying it and I'm hearing it. I'm like, that sucks. But until that happens, you don't have anything. So most of the time, entrepreneurs that are been there, done that, get easy funding is because they solve these last two slides, right? Problem and customers. If you're an entrepreneur and you can nail these two, forget how sometimes lucky and hard it is to raise money, but you'll have a business. So, friends. All right. Your friends are never, they're only going to tell you what you want to hear. That's what my friends do, and they tell me the things that I want to hear, and it's diluted because they care about me, right? And they care about me, but not as a mentor. They care about me as their friend, and sometimes they'll poke, like my buddy Alan, like he'll poke at me, but recognize that your friend group is not your future customers, right? Your friend group is not your feedback channel. It's not. And back to my slogan is, if I could go back, that's what I would do. I would tell myself to say, stop depending on that. That doesn't mean you can't show them and be excited and things like that and throw kickoff parties when you launch. That's all cool. But recognize that feedback that comes from your friends, it's okay. But it's not going to help you, other than it might dilute you. Yeah, dog food. Ding! You guys know this phrase? Eat your own dog food? Yeah. So I have a startup going, I won't even name it because my point is not to pitch. I have the startup going right now that helps supplement the public school system. It allows individuals to create schools that is all about them. Like Jack has a school, and in Jack's school is Minecraft, basketball, drums, and science. Why? Because he cares about that, right? Minecraft, and what else is in there? Minecraft. And I have a school, and so with dog food I'm eating our own dog food. I'm making my kid eat it too. So no, not dog food, Jack. Just I won't say the name. And the point is use your own stuff. Like really, use your own stuff. And if you're not using it, nobody else is going to use it. So if you feel, oh, I got to go use it, something's wrong. So eat your own dog food is a little cliche, but recognize that if I could go back in time, use your own stuff before you're asking other people to use it. All right, Lean Startup. Read this book? Yep. Okay, if you haven't read it, it's a good one. Before he wrote the book, if you were spending your own money on being an entrepreneur, these lessons became scars and they became action. Because when you spend your own money on stuff, you like instantly learn. Because you're like, one, you vet it and you're like, yep, we're gonna go do this. And then you're like, oh my gosh, look what happened, right? So Lean Startup is all about that, and I would definitely recommend reading the book. It's all about iterative change, ding, that's entrepreneurial cliche, But when I learned, when you're spending your own money, you naturally get this skill. Like to the point of arrogance, where I read the book, I'm like, yep, we're good. I already dropped a couple $100,000 on learning that. Why did I need another $22, So, but at the same time though, is every single thing in that book, if I would have taken it to heart before, I'd have more money is one thing I'd have, but I'd have more startups is what I'd have. So Lean Startup is very, very, very real, but similar to Web 2.0, it has a little bit of this polish to it, and everybody's talking about MVP, and they got no idea what that means, and other than minimal viable product, but really, when you really dig into that, the scars and experience that come from spending your own money is in that book. So if you go out and get it digitally for $20, or it's like $100,000 book to me. Like if I would have known that, man. Bottoms up. Isn't it interesting? Like I picked these words because you guys are like, what the hell is he going to talk about, right? So yeah, so bottoms up is, I've heard this so many times. Our market is $7 million, and if we get 3% of that market, I can't do the math, we're going to have this much of the market. Oh my gosh, stop with the top-down thing already. Like you have got to build. Now, is it okay to do that math to understand, is the market big enough for you? Sure. We could pick any industry and in 5 minutes do that math. So back to the prepared lesson, right? Well, okay, you spent 5 minutes preparing with your revenue structure. Great, good job with the 5 minutes you spent. So bottoms up is, how many calls do I need to make? What conversion? How long do the calls make? How much does that person make an hour? How much am I going to convert? What's the retention? That's bottoms up. Like that is, I have a shovel in my hand, metaphorically or maybe physically, and I just dug one. Now how many do I have to dig to get a customer? Like that is a bottoms up financial model. If you're an entrepreneur, whether it's your money or whether you're raising it, and you don't do a bottoms up model, you missed it. So back to the slogan of, if I could go back, and bottoms up model. Otherwise you have no one's attention. Or if you have an investor's attention without a bottoms up model, you don't have an investor. You just have a person. So just recognize that. Everything is bottoms up. What do I have to do to achieve what I'm proposing that I'm going to achieve? Cool. Ding, right? Viral coefficient. Viral loop. Who's read that one? Another book, Viral Loop. So so I want to talk about something, and then I'll get back and define exactly what this means. Is everybody that knows how to manipulate and manage a viral coefficient doesn't talk about it because they're off deploying it. They're off in their own business model, and it's like this super secret thing that doesn't get talked about much. So there's a book out there called Viral Loop. You have to go read it. If you have an online startup going today, or you're planning one, and you don't apply viral coefficients, double loops inside of your model, you're done. Like, it's just effort when you don't have to have effort. So viral coefficient, this is what it is the viral coefficient is measuring your user base against the growth of the user base that came from your current user base. So if I share it with 2 people, and those 2 people don't sign up, my viral coefficient is 0. If I share it with 2 people and 1 person signs up, my viral coefficient is 1. So when you look at your business model and you say, oh yeah, we're going to go viral, not the marketing viral, right? The user growth viral. What's it called now? Growth hacking, I think, right? Something like that. So if you don't plan your viral loops inside of your business model, you're just talking about spending money for acquisition when you don't need to. So you have to really, I read this book. They do a bunch of goofy examples, the old hot or not, but they talk about the math, like what goes down here. And if you don't have viral coefficient in your marketing plan, maybe logo and brand should be number one, but the number two should be, how are we going to ignite the viral coefficient? That's it, okay? So please read that book. Like again, read the book. All right. Has anybody met Brad Feld in the room? Uh-huh. Yeah. Brad talks about something, I haven't, by the way. Oh, great, cool. Yeah, it seems pretty low-key dude. I don't know where he gets his shirt, so like every picture I'm like, dude, where do you get that shirt? So he talks about something that I want to talk about, that I want to emulate, and that is when you're running a startup, and if you've read his post, you know this, and it's a delicate subject, is depression runs in startups. And it is a dead serious thing. So the one thing that Brad does, and he's the only one that I know that does it, and that's why I have it here, is he talks about that. And he talks about his own experience through that process. So either you've gone through it yourself, or you're in the beginning of a startup. Do not underestimate what's going down here, because you are going to put everything into it, and it might not work out, and you have to adapt. And it's an emotional thing, because you love this thing, right? You do. And just recognize that as you get down that path and you're committing and you're leaving your A job to go to this entrepreneurial job, pulling the ejection seat, this is serious stuff. So make sure you go read some of the stuff that Brad has written about that. It's very real. Thanks. It's delicate, so it's kind of a Dave Downer, isn't it? Anyway, so it's important though. Yeah. Yeah, I sometimes I think he's got a little too much of Jobs in him, but that's okay. Don't get me on the Jobs thing. Time travel. All right. So I don't know what you'll remember, right? But the thing that I wish that I could, in the same way that I do with my kids when I lecture them, and they love that, is I would, and maybe you do with your kids or your parents do with you, is I just want to I don't want you to live through the things that I had to do. And I just want to say, hey, here are the things. And so back to the concept of, if you could somehow take those things that I shared, and I want nothing from you, right, and just apply them so that you don't have to live through them. Even if you half apply them, you're way ahead. So I'm going to go back in time to this moment in your life, and I'm going to share these things, okay? So that hopefully you can take some things away. Time travel. Conclusion. Solve a problem. Yeah, all right. Cool? All right, I think that's it, Yay! All right, Jack, you can't ask any questions. I'm just kidding you, buddy. So what do you guys want to know? Like, what challenge do you have for me, or what can I answer?
What's up with Uncle Steve?
What's up with him, or what's he doing now?
Oh, you mentioned on Meetup that his business eventually failed too.
Oh yeah, well, because he got busted.
Oh.
So the thing about Florida laws, though, is, and I don't think, I'm sitting here thinking, wow, I wonder if I was part of that bus. No, I wasn't. This is the second time I've told the Uncle Steve story. So yeah, he got busted. So it was like some misdemeanor thing, and he still sold the yard sale stuff, but now that the cops would go over the neighborhood, so and then he became a treasure hunter. He would go out anyway. So the claim to fame of Uncle Steve, and then I'll get off the Uncle Steve subject, is in the movie Waterboy, because he lived in Florida and he would treasure hunt, and then he would go to all the studio extra things. In the movie Waterboy, big movie screen, there is a full face shot, not like partial, full face shot of Uncle Steve in the crowd. So I will see if I can find it, and I'll try to follow up with the link. Like, it is like, because you're gonna be like, whoa, because it sounds like it's not real, but it's real. All right. Yeah. So thanks for the question, dude. What else you guys got?
Is being in a startup or a startup world or in startup mentality, how would you, is it worth it, all the headache and all the strife compared to just collecting the 40-hour-a-week paycheck and being in the corporate world?
Hell yes. Although it takes a while, so yes, but it takes a while to learn that. But, you know, so I've got 3 kids, and, you know, evolutionary biology, that's expensive stuff, you know, and so it's kind of like, and I don't believe in trade-offs. I believe either go or don't go. I didn't always believe that. So for me, so I don't know the exact number, but let's say that my number is $300,000 of startup versus real job. And so I ask myself the question is, would I pay $300,000 for what I just showed you? You might not. I would do it again, no doubt. I would do it different. But yeah, without a doubt. It is, I don't know. I have this coin in my pocket that says, it was given to me by a special ops guy, and it says, so it says, the oppresso liber. It's, maybe you can pronounce it better than that. And it means, for me personally, is my startup's all about helping people. So that's what I do. So my answer is, was it worth it? That's why. Because everything that I do, hell yeah, I want to help someone else, not in a charity kind of way, but in a group kind of way. Hey, let's go, you know? So that's why it's worth it to me. Yes, ma'am.
If you don't have any connections like mentors or something like that, how do you recommend getting started? Where do you recommend finding these people?
Start like this. This helps.
Yeah.
Galvanize helps. Have, and this is my style, so it doesn't apply to everybody. Have criteria of intolerance, meaning that if someone isn't your, don't spend time there. Don't network in the loose kind of way, because you waste time with the real kind of way. And authentic people attract authentic people. So, you know, if you go into a situation, and not you individually, but anybody, if you go into a situation and you're authentic and you associate with 2 out of 10 people, how awesome is that? Versus half associating with 9 people. That's meaningless, you know? So for me personally, I've always just tried to be real, patient, ask, listen, and then for me, and I think a little bit of luck too, authentic people tend to associate together. And the times that I've been a cheeseball networker, you know, like if I post something on LinkedIn and someone says, congrats, I say to myself, how lazy are you? How lazy are you to be in my network and click congrats that you couldn't spend 5 seconds going, dude, awesome. Something, you know, so I try to be, I don't click congrats. I'm not, don't tell me if you do, but I'm just, but so I try to be authentic, and then I accept that 8 out of 10 people might not like that. But then the 2 people, it's awesome. That's me. Yes, sir.
We always teach our people to hang out where check writers hang out. And mentorship happens.
Yeah, somebody who's made is usually looking to give back. Combination of bored or grateful or thankful. I would agree with that. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Would you recommend skipping angel capital and just bootstrapping in order to work out all the grow?
Well, until you have momentum, you have no value. So I would say, you know, as a check writer, not recently, because I got my hands full, right, from what Josh said, but is you want to get momentum because then you don't have to pitch it. You can just show it. But at the same time it's hard, you know, and you have to sacrifice your money, your effort, your time. So personally, I have learned to get momentum, but I'm also in the mode of I've been through enough of that I can get some momentum and show it instead of tell it. So sitting on both sides, my experience as an entrepreneur, I have learned to show, not tell, even to the point of arrogance. Like, who needs money for growth? That's it. Like, that's arrogant. That's not a good, you know, it's not a good theory. But then on the other side of it is you show up to an investor and you're not wasting their time, whether individual or groups, because you have momentum and customers and you vetted that thing already. All right, everybody else clear out of the room. We want to talk to this guy. Yeah. So I would recommend momentum through crazy effort, but careful, it's dangerous. Yes, sir.
I would generally agree with that. We always say that the longer that you can hold out, your pre-money valuation goes up exponentially.
And I think you attract the right kind of investor that cares about what you're doing. I think so. And then as you build a network, people are like, what are you doing? Armstrong, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then like, well, yeah, I'm not going to say anything about it because I don't have enough momentum. It's not like some secret thing. It's like, I'm not proud of it yet. But then once I become proud of it, then I'm like, okay, I think you need to see this and I won't waste your time. So the worst thing you can do is blow up your network because you don't have a second chance. And I talked about that a little bit. I didn't have a second chance. And I'm like, man. So, yes.
We've heard a lot about the great culture and great team you guys have built. Can you just tell us a little bit about your personal philosophy on building your teams and building out the culture?
Of my companies. So
Companies.
So I don't work for Cuban, but I hired a lot of the wrong people. So let's just start there. I think I made a lot more mistakes, and then I started to do what was more obvious. And I follow my gut. I know that's a cheesy answer, but I trust my instincts. Somewhere in there's some DNA that says you should listen to yourself, and sometimes you get that wrong. But I trust my gut, and I also go by, if you hire the wrong person, you will know it forever. And at the other side is that if you miss hiring the right person, you'll never know it. So I don't know. I hang out with a lot of people, and I take my time and trust my gut. And I don't hire a lot of people either. So it's just my gut. I know that's not a great answer.
Yeah.
So,
Why
yeah.
did you hire Tom?
Because the demand needed supply, and I didn't take my time. I didn't trust my instincts. And it all worked out. Most of them worked out. There's a couple people that I hired that were my friends, and now we don't talk, and that's painful, man. There's this one guy, no joke. After 7 years, we just reconnected on Facebook, and it feels weird. And I told him that I was sorry. Not that I did anything wrong, or he did anything wrong, but man, 7 years after being friends, and you let some BS startup come between you, So, I don't know. So I don't hire a lot of people, and then I trust my instinct, and I just take my time.
How fast do you fire?
I usually lay it out pretty direct in terms of what's not happening, and it's not usually metrics based, it's culture based, and then I let them fire themselves, meaning not literally walk away, but I let them find another opportunity, but I make it clear, and that's usually when I've made the mistake, and I hire slow now, and I don't hire a lot of volume, so those mistakes are less now. I've made more mistakes in that area than I like, but
We all have.
yeah.
By the way, you're talking about problems, finding a problem. So I'd love to ask around that. Can you go a little bit about how you find them, how you vet them,
Yeah.
come up with a method for that? You go and how do you print them out?
Yeah, it's usually caffeine is involved somewhere, and I they're everywhere. There's problems everywhere. There's this guy that goes to my daughter's basketball game. His name is not John, and he is a jerk, but nobody tells him, right? So I'm like, well, that's a problem, right? I mean, not only is he a problem, but the fact that nobody tells him is a problem. So I think to myself, well, how could we solve that? So what if you had an app on your phone? Nobody steal this one. What if you had an app on your phone that you could register, am I a jerk? And then the people around you could say, you could describe yourself, guy in black shirt and weird shoes, right? And then people around you could be like, not a jerk, right? But you don't know who said that, right? I mean, wouldn't that be awesome? So I don't know how I see these. That's not even a good idea, I don't think, right? I don't know. Because the guy that's a jerk wouldn't get the app to begin with, right?
Yeah.
Right, there's a problem, right? Or, what I mean, that's the failure.
wouldn't care.
Yeah, he wouldn't care, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, damn, this guy's a jerk,
I guarantee he knows he's a jerk.
Yeah, and maybe I should go tell him. He's like, oh, I never thought of it before. Thank you so much.
And I know when I'm not wanted
Yeah.
to stay anyway.
So I think that for me personally, I see them everywhere, and then I choose the hell yeah, and can I solve that? And back to how Josh introduced me, yeah, I got too many of that stuff. But I think that I usually, I've been married for 23 years, so I see my wife, she's a preschool teacher, so I see her go through pain, and I hear her talking about her kids, and some kids are really smart, but it doesn't come from their brain, it comes from the love that they're given, maybe not. And then other kids who are really smart, but they're shy, and who knows, right? So I see things like that everywhere, and I would just say, pay attention.
You make it a main focus of what you're...
Yeah, it is the way that I'm wired. It is the way that I'm wired, and I only do stuff I care about. I live really cheap, ride scooters. I bring my son for free lunch. I'm good. So seriously though, like it is just the way that I'm wired. And
the way you made it sound was like you're still trying to get 100%, when it sounds to me like it's a pipeline problem where you take all these and then maybe...
No, it probably needs to be that. Maybe we should work together to figure that one out. It probably needs to be something more like that. My other instinct says, hey, let's put a scoring card against it, and it'll wash itself out. But I think the reason I fail with the problem is because sometimes I apply the technology to the situation instead of really taking my time with what's going on here. Like the example of this guy that's a jerk, is that sounded like a great idea at first, don't answer. It sounded like a great idea until I was like, yeah, except he wouldn't get the app. So it'd be like this love fest. You're awesome, and you're awesome, and you're awesome. And the guy that needs the you're not awesome. So usually I get ahead like, oh, we could solve that. Yeah, sure. One more question. Thank you for the time, please. Justin.
Do you think it's possible to be a part-time entrepreneur, or is it full-time?
Not with 3 kids. I think it's almost necessary because you'll feel I felt the constant tug of go for it, go for it, go for it, go for it. And then I was laid off from my job. I mean, I was the only one, so they called it fired. So I was kicked into it a little bit. And then my second event was I had an argument with my wife, and I never do. And she said, what's wrong? And I said, I'm not happy. And she said, well, what makes you happy? And I said that, and she says, well, go do that. So it was kind of like, And then I learned, like, hey, I need to go do this. Cut DirecTV, get Netflix, let's go for this thing, So I think in the beginning, as you learn, and hopefully you can learn not just from these things, but things on your own, so that it's not so troublesome as maybe I had. But yeah, start out as part-time, and then at some point, either you're going to get kicked or you're going to go. But I think I would start out as part-time. Okay. No, just go for it, huh?
I would say find something that you can make cash fast, even
Sure.
if that isn't in where you really want to go. Get the hell out of there, because entrepreneurial life is all it comes in.
I definitely agree with that. Good feedback. Thank you very much. All right, guys. Thank you guys very much. Yeah, good. Now I get to eat.